Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I recently had pulled Nilou, and I had posted a short little showcase using her like a few days ago, so go check that out if you want. But in this video, I kind of wanted to actually go over Nilou, her artifacts, weapons, kit, all that stuff, as well as then talk about a few of her teams and the team I use, and maybe show a little showcase at the end. But anyway, before we get into that, if you like the stuff I do and want to support it, feel free to leave a like and subscribe, and I really appreciate it. Anyway, let's actually get into the video. Nilou is a Hydro Sword user that ascends off HP, and because of what her specific talent does, basically the more HP you build on her, the better she does. You can see mine sits at around 60,000. I'd say that's a pretty high number, but you can get easily around that, which is kind of like good substat rolls, or depending on the weapon you use, you can get even higher. The weapon I specifically use on her is Primordial Jade Cutter. I don't really use the crit rate ascension on it, but it gives a 20% HP addition as its passive, and I guess the bonus attack from her HP is kind of good, but as you can see, as you'll see, we don't really do anything with that. Artifacts. So I run her on a two-piece Millilith and two-piece Vorukasha, and essentially that's just to give her the most HP she possibly can, with 40% being it. You could do like a mix set of two-piece one of these and two-piece another, or a four-piece Millilith. But honestly, I think at this point, two-piece for Millilith and Varakasha is the best. She doesn't have a really best in slot four-piece artifact set for her. So I think doing a two-piece of both of these is you're going to be your best option. So Nilou has very long passive and talent descriptions, but I'll try to give a lowdown for you. So Nilou has two types of skills. The first skill is basically what you do is you press your skill button and then you normal attack, and basically it gives you Hydro Infusion on all your normal attacks, and it gives quite a pretty effect to it. And the damage is all based off of Nilou's max HP, I believe. Yes, it's all based off her max HP. Um, so the other form of her skill is you use her skill button, but instead of normal attacking, you use her skill. Or what you can do that ends up being faster is you can press her skill, do two normal attacks, and then end off her skill, and it creates this kind of pool of water that applies hydro around you. It doesn't do any damage from what I believe. It just applies hydro in a ring, kind of like Barbara's E as well, but just kind of has a bit of a wider range on it. And that's going to be kind of your main thing you're going to do. You're going to use her skill. I personally use the second form of her skill, giving that water ring, because that water ring can still be applied to your characters even if they're off field. Move on to her burst. Her burst isn't too useful in her kit. It's some added damage, but it's just there. It's based off of a certain max of her HP, and it gives you basically it's a two hit. The first hit does 27% of her HP, and then like after a second or two, it will do a second hit that's based off higher. There, it's got 18-second cooldown and 70 burst energy cost. It's just kind of there. All right, the main deal with Nilou comes from her Ascension talents. So again, they're novels, so I'll try to explain. Basically, her Ascension 2 is when you only have Dendro or Hydro characters in your party, and you have at least one of each, so you need at least one Dendro and one Hydro. The other teammates have to be Hydro or Dendro, but it can be any numbers. You can have two Hydro, you can have two Dendro, or you can have one of each. Doesn't really matter, but you have to have Dendro or Hydro, or this passive doesn't work. And what the passive does is when you use her E, it gives you this added effect called Golden Chalice Bounty, and it's there for 30 seconds, so it lasts a good amount of time. When your character is affected by it, it gives you 100 EM, and also when you make dendro cores that you make through the bloom reaction, they're enhanced and they do more damage, essentially. um, Now, the reason why I say you have to have both is not only because it tells you, but at the very end it says, should the party not meet the conditions for this passive talent, any existing Golden Chalice's bounty effect will be cancelled. Essentially, if you even put like Zhongli in here, um, you won't get the passive, which meaning you're not getting the enhanced Dendro core or the enhanced Dendro damage. It just straight up doesn't work. And that's used for balancing reasons. And honestly, because of how good Dendro reactions are, especially Hyper Bloom and Burgeon, considering how good they are, having kind of these Dendro cores do insane damage, and then anytime that those aren't made, you do Hyper Bloom or Burgeon damage. Like it's insane. So I understand, but that's kind of where Nilou is. She's niche, and if you don't like this particular playstyle you build her around, I wouldn't recommend her. But in this niche, she actually is very good if you can build a team around it. Um, and so her A4 passive essentially is for every 1,000 points of Nilou's max HP above 3, she will increase the amount of damage that the special Dendro core she makes by 9%, and this goes up to 400%. And what this means is Nilou kind of caps out the bonus damage she gives to these Dendro cores at around 74,000 HP, I believe. So around there, maybe a little above, a little below, but I think it's 74,000 HP. She stops giving you more damage. I currently have her at 60, so that's I'm good. And I find she already does a lot of damage here, so anything more um, is kind of. I think the only way to get more HP, if not by pure just luck of getting a lot of HP rolls or flat HP rolls, it's going to be on her weapon, which is the key of Kaj Nusut. And not only does that give HP within its passive, but also gives HP in its skill description. It basically is just more HP, and it gives quite a lot. But then also it gives you elemental mastery based off of Nilou's max HP, and yeah, it's just kind of insane. It's meant to just really hone in on this thing. It's also the only sword I believe that has an HP percentage passive, which is obviously going to be the best in her, which is a bit unfortunate if you have don't have a 4-star free to play option. It makes your teams less viable. Um, and personally, I'm lucky. I've had the Primordial J Cutter forever, and that it's helpful that it gives 20% more HP. But in terms of actual free to play swords for her, she really doesn't have much. Because she has no good free to play option, you could honestly run her with like, for like shits and giggles. You can run her with a dual blade, a level 1 dual blade, and she's still going to perform perfectly fine because everything comes from her passive talents and simply by you using her skill, but it's not reliant on skill damage. So you don't. So she's really easy to build, but her teams are very restrictive. Let's actually get into her team. So the current team I have running is Nahida, Nilou, of course, Yao Yao, and Ayato. Something to note, because I am using Yao Yao. So this team is focused on bloom damage. So yes, the Dendro cores that Nilou does are the normal ones. They do more damage. But if you know anything about like bloom or burgeon, you want either a shielder or a healer to mitigate the damage that the explosions do to you, because they will hurt you. You can see they have hurt Ayato here. But you do need a healer. And currently we don't have a Dendro healer. Baiju shows that he is getting a shield and he's a healer, so he might be really good for Nilou teams. But currently we don't have any. So having a healer, whether it be Yao Yao, whether it be Kokomi, whether it be Barbara, it's just going to be valuable to you, because unless you play perfectly everywhere else, you can still end up killing yourself, especially like in Spiral Abyss. So overall, I recommend a healer, then some kind of driver to help produce the bloom reaction, because the bloom reaction's damage is based off of whoever activates bloom. So you want some kind of driver for it. So if you have so much hydro, then obviously you could have a dendro driver and just build them a ton of EM. Or you can have it the opposite way, like I have it here. Speaking of, you do kind of want everyone to have a good amount of EM. Luckily, I have no problem running a 4-piece gilded with 3 EM on Ayato with an Iron Stang. So I have no problem doing that on the team because I think it's funny, but also fun to do. Then obviously I have Nahida to help boost EM and everything like that, and Yayo to keep the entire team alive, because without it, they would surely die very quickly. They still kind of die quickly, but Yayo helps mitigate that. Um, but overall, I think I'll show off some of Nilou's kind of team comps and rotations, so I hope you enjoy those. If you want to get Nilou, you can. I'm not really going to discuss whether Nilou is more worth it to get than Nahida, but if you do want to get Nilou and you already have Nahida, or if you like using Kole or Dendromet Traveler or Yaoyao more anyway, then Nilou is a really good option, and I think you'd enjoy her. And just to kind of reiterate some good points, Nilou's really easy to build. Don't need to mess with her talent levels at all. Don't really need a great, because she has no good or great free to play options for her weapons. You can give her a level 1 Dole Blade and not worry about it, and she's still gonna relatively do the same. And if you do want to hyper invest and you have Jade Cutter that's just kind of sitting around, or you want to roll on her weapon, it's just gonna make her better. Um, but overall, I like Nilou, and I thought I wasn't really gonna like Nilou, but I kind of just said fuck it, and I rolled for her anyway. And turns out I really do like this team. I think it's very fun, and I like the giant Dendro explosions and using a complete EM Ayato. It's stupid, but I like it. But anyway, that's all I had for you guys today. So if you like the video, make sure to leave a like and comment and subscribe if you like my content in general. Anyway, have a good day, guys. Peace.